he has decided to race for Ferrari in 2025. And that was basically it. And we had a good hour of conversation.
Lewis Hamilton has left a massive hole in Mercedes that's very unlikely to be filled by any driver out there. Although the Brackley-based squad has a vast amount of choices, only a few could fill in the shoes that the 7-time world champion has left to be filled back in Brackley. So, with this in mind, what's the best choice that the team could have? And more importantly, could they get it horribly wrong and head into an era of rebuilding? It's safe to say that the biggest shock transfer of the century came a couple of weeks ago, with Hamilton joining Ferrari. But now that's all settled, we're now eager to see who could follow the growth in Mercedes and who would be the best choice to replace him. Obviously, the number one choice is Sainz, considering that he's the guy who did not get his contract extended at Ferrari and that he's actually the driver who has a lot to prove to both teams, that he can be a championship contender, even though Ferrari did not believe in that. This would also cause the fewest shake-ups in the drivers' grid, because it would automatically mean that these two teams just swap drivers for the 2025 season. However, Sainz has other options as well, such as Sauber for 1 year and then Audi. And in this scenario, he would definitely be the number one driver of the team, and the entire chemistry will be built around him if he didn't mess it up. In Mercedes, he would have to go against what would be a 3-year experienced driver in Russell, and after Wolff's statements that the Brit will be their next leader, it's safe to assume where the situation is going in the Brackley-based squad. On top of that, while Sainz is one of the most wanted drivers on the grid, compared to drivers like Alonso and Vettel, who are also considered for this seat, his brand is making you think twice as to whether or not it's worth signing him for a longer period of time. Sainz did have his own thing going on in Ferrari, making his own strategies and winning 2 races compared to Leclerc's 3 during their time as teammates, but it was effectively not enough to pursue a longer relationship with the Maranello squad. Not many could blame Ferrari for what they did. They had a 7-time world champion expressing his wish to drive for them in what could be the revolution they've been waiting for ever since 2007. But whether or not Sainz was the problem, time will tell. And if Mercedes feels the same as Ferrari, they'll have plenty of other options to choose from, with the next one being Alex Albon. The Thai driver has already stated his intent to remain in Williams, but more importantly, he did not deny any potential connection that would see him in a top performing team in the foreseeable future. Of course, Williams is one of the most interesting teams right now, given the fact that they finished 7th in 2023 after a crumbling season in 2022 and a lot of changes coming to the team in every aspect. So regarding how the 2024 season would end up for the Grove-based squad, Albon wouldn't shy away from options to join Mercedes. After all, this is Mercedes we're talking about, and with the close relationship he has with Russell, it would probably be the best thing to go for anyway. But friendships only last on the outside of the track, and when the helmets are put on and the drivers are in the cockpit, your teammate is your worst enemy. So if Albon wants to win races and to constitute himself as a proper number one driver in a team, not what he did in Red Bull with Verstappen, he would have a very difficult mission in beating Russell in the same machinery. And many experts believe that this is where Albon wants to be too in the upcoming future, mostly because his camp reportedly made up the rumours about Red Bull offering the 3-year contract to him just because they wanted to get the attention of Mercedes in what was supposed to be another earth-shocking deal. But with Albon committed to Williams as of now, it's safe to say that the next focus will be on Alonso. The 2-time world champion has everything Mercedes needs: experience, stamina, determination, and a championship-winning mentality. It might be hard for him to get over Russell in Mercedes, given the fact that the younger Brit was able to finish higher than Hamilton in their first season in 2022, but once Alonso gets a full grip on the car and understands what it wants and needs, it might be bad news not only for Russell, but for the entire F1 grid. Alonso is a man who's not afraid of challenges, and in 2022, he prepared the biggest silly season out of nowhere when Vettel announced his retirement, and he immediately moved to Aston Martin after that. Obviously, Alonso is still committed to the Silverstone-based squad and wants to see where they'll be in 2024 before they move on with the contract forward. But as of now, representatives of Alonso have talked with Wolff and Mercedes about a potential move to Mercedes. The conclusion, per reports, is that Alonso would have to wait and see how Aston Martin would approach the 2024 season, and whether or not there is a chance that they could be highly competitive, passing Mercedes on the way of doing so. If this is the case, then Mercedes would be wise to look elsewhere, but if not, then the best possible solution would be to sign Alonso and make sure that the team wouldn't lose that much regarding the championship quest after Hamilton's departure. But the list doesn't end here. Quite the contrary, there are two very interesting names that Mercedes could bring to pair with Russell, such as Ocon and Mick Schumacher. The Frenchman has recently spoken about the relationship he still has with Mercedes, even though he is a long-time Alpine driver, saying that the Brackley-based squad still manages his career, and as their protege, he has a very solid chance of being in that seat if things don't turn out to be right with Alpine in 2024. Of course, the main focus is to make sure that everything is running smoothly in Alpine, but both he and Gasly are running out of contracts at the end of the 2024 season, which could very well mean that Mercedes would use the services of Ocon next to Russell. He is a fierce and sometimes reckless driver who's built a reputation of not being exactly the teammate you'd want to have. But in a team like Mercedes, where only one can be dominant, it may be exactly what the team needs. Adding to his chances of driving in Mercedes, Ocon went on to say, "You know, I've always had strong links with Mercedes. I'm still a Mercedes junior driver. That's always been, even if I'm not that junior anymore. I'm contracted with them at some stage. At the moment, I'm totally dedicated to Alpine. That's my focus. I need to do a good job staying on track, as always. Every year is a crucial year in Formula 1 because it doesn't matter if you have a contract or not. If you don't perform, you can be out. If you do a strong job, there will always be talks, rumours and good things for you." And the last but not least is Mick Schumacher. The German driver has served his role loyally as the reserve driver for Mercedes before heading out to the Alpine journey in the WEC. But obviously both he and the French team admitted that the future for him is Formula 1, and if a seat becomes available, he won't be stopped from chasing it. Right now, this is the most wanted and lucrative seat that the sport can offer, and we're all saying a lot of good things about Mick when it came to him being sacked from Haas and no other team wanting him as a driver. It's time to put his money where his mouth was. According to his uncle Ralf Schumacher, Mick holds a very strong chance in landing the Mercedes seat because of his work as the reserve driver of the team last year. Thanks to Mick's countless hours on the simulator, the team was able to extract as much performance as possible and make the car a better one to drive for Russell and Hamilton. When talking about Mick's future at Mercedes even further, Ralph went on to say, "There won't be quite so many candidates for the seat. It's a question of what Wolff wants to do. Russell, if he doesn't make any mistakes, is certainly capable of following in Lewis's footsteps and leading the team. Mick would certainly be one of the best options in the young field, but of course there's also Carlos Sainz on the market, even if I think he's more likely to end up at Audi. I think Mick's chances are good and I think he deserves the chance. Alongside Russell, he would be a man to build up for the future. I'm pretty confident about that. Now Wolff just has to be of the same opinion, but so far I've only heard positive things about Mick from him." With this in mind, who do you think would be the right replacement for Hamilton? Let us know in the comments down below.